7 spine-chilling discoveries in the woods that expose sinister secrets and haunted horrors. The moment the Parker family crossed the weathered sign welcoming them to Greywood, a sense of dread settled upon them. The dense woods loomed like giants, shadows stretching beyond reason as daylight succumbed to dusk. Jake Parker gripped the steering wheel tighter, feeling the weight of unspoken anxieties press against his chest. He had hoped this annual camping trip would bring his family together, but the tension simmering in the air felt more like a storm waiting to break. Emma, their teenage daughter, barely acknowledged her parents as she lost herself in her phone. The glow from the screen seemed to amplify her isolation. Each thumbs up or selective response further drove a wedge between them. "Put that thing down, Emma. This is supposed to be family time," Jake snapped, his voice breaking the fragile silence. Tension crackled, sharp as the final snap of a twig underfoot. As night draped its heavy cloak over the forest, familiar trails twisted into something foreign and foreboding. Whispers rustled through the trees like ghostly sighs, and Jake's heart raced. Shadows danced at the corners of his vision, unformed but somehow lascivious, slinking just out of reach. He took a breath, focusing on the carelessness of campfires and laughter, only to feel an unsettling energy enveloping them. Emma, desperate for distraction, wandered away from their campsite, taking in the gnarled trees and eerie quiet. Just ahead, she stumbled upon 7 wooden markers, grotesque carvings of lost lives woven into the grain of ancient bark. Each symbol dripped with dread, a testament to those claimed by the shadows. Her breath hitched, instincts screamed at her to run. "Emma!" Jake called out, glancing between the flickering campfire and the encroaching darkness. Panic thrummed in the air. Hours passed, and dread twisted his gut. Where was she? Anxiety quaked within him. "Let us check with Sheriff Martin. He might know something," Lisa suggested. Jake hesitated, recalling the sheriff's too casual demeanor as he strolled through the town, the whispers from locals draping ominous clouds over their innocent smiles. Still, fear drove them forward, and they trudged toward the only hint of safety. "What?" "Just campfire tales," Sheriff Martin chuckled, rolling his eyes, and Jake felt a tension snap within him. He wanted to scream, to shake the man until he could feel the unease crawling up the spine of the town they called home. As they trudged back to camp, the forest came alive, branches creaked, leaves skittered over the forest floor, shadows swirled. It felt as if something was watching, waiting. Jake's throat constricted as he stifled shouts of dread. Their family was fracturing, and the woods around them whispered a chilling promise that they might not be the only ones missing by morning light. Something rustled in the dark, a movement too close for comfort. Was that Emma's voice? Jake strained to hear but could only detect whispered secrets and the rustle of unseen figures. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Jake's heart sank as unspeakable dread loomed. Time ticked forward, but still no sign of Emma. The forest darkened, shadows becoming more solid, pressing in like a tightening noose. With every passing minute, Jake sensed they were not alone, and the markings deep in the woods seemed to pulse, alive with dark history. As he called out for his daughter again, the words echoed back, warped and haunting, a reminder that they were caught in something much larger than themselves. Would it bind them together or tear them apart forever? The night was merciless. The air thickened with the scent of earth and decay as Jake called out, desperation pulling at his voice. "Emma!" He gripped Lisa's arm tightly, her fingers trembling in his grasp. They stood frozen, aching with a sense of inevitable loss. The shadows around them moved, inching closer like specters in the darkness. "Maybe she's just messing around," Lisa tried to reassure herself, though her eyes darted in every direction, drinking in the indistinct shapes lingering beyond the firelight, shadows cradling secrets of their own. Jake shook his head, brows furrowing. "No, she wouldn't just wander off like this. Something feels wrong." Each whispered rustle echoed in the abyss surrounding them, cruel laughter in a language too foreign to comprehend. Just then, an eerie sound broke through the stillness, a snapping twig, the kind that sent chills racing down one's spine. Did you hear that? Jake whispered, dread pooling in the pit of his stomach. Lisa leaned against him, nails digging into his arm, her breath hitching as they shifted their focus toward the source of the sound. Maybe it's an animal, she murmured, but the reassurance died in her throat. She knew better. The forest was too quiet for animals. The air seemed charged, crackling with the kind of tension that made her skin prickle. Then, another sound of faint, almost melodic whispering drifted through the trees, ethereal and beckoning. Emma? Jake called again, voice trembling with flickers of hope and fear. The shadows shivered, pulsing like shadows around a fire. Then he saw it, a flicker of movement on the edge of where the flames cast light. Over there! He shouted, and they rushed toward it, but as they stumbled deeper into the darkness, the whispers grew louder, wrapping around them like a noose. It wasn't Emma's voice, it was something else, something deeper. The undercurrent of dread surged. Each step felt weighted, as if they were moving through molasses. The trees bent low, leaning in, as though the woods themselves wanted to envelop them, to keep them shackled to their whispers. Do you think it's a prank? Lisa asked, her voice trembling as they crept further into the grip of the forest. What if she is still playing with her phone? Jake felt sick. What if Emma had disappeared into the grasp of something that lurked beyond? We should go back, he urged, only for the shadows to remain deafeningly loud, a cacophony of history that screamed around them. Suddenly, something heavy plummeted in the underbrush, startling both of them. Jake jerked back, heart racing. What the? A pair of eyes glared from behind the trees, glinting like shards of glass, unblinking and cold. He felt his throat constrict as the figure emerged, cloaked in darkness. It stood motionless, the same grotesque carvings from the wooden markers etched onto its skin, menacing reminders of the lost souls it had devoured. Run! Jake shouted, grabbing Lisa's wrist and sprinting back to their campsite. Panic surged, adrenaline hammered through his veins. Behind them, the whispering rose again, a furious wind, relentless and haunting. They reached the campfire, heartbeats thundering like war drums. Breathless, they searched the bloodied leaves for any sign of Emma, every flicker of hope extinguished as the whispers clawed at their sanity. And then, in the very last moment before the dark reclaimed their surroundings, a soft, broken voice echoed through the woods. Help me, it was Emma. But where was she? Was she trapped deep within those haunted woods, or had something more sinister already claimed her? The darkness swelled, ready to unfold its next secret. What would it demand in exchange for her return? Jake's heart pounded in his chest, a drumbeat of panic drowned in a sea of confusion. Emma! He called again, desperation clawing at his throat. Each moment stretched, filled with thick dread. Shadows flickered, seemingly alive, mocking his cries. Where was she? Lisa's eyes were wide, brows knitted together. We have to find her. She must be close. Her voice wavered, betraying the fear she fought hard to suppress. She stepped forward, but Jake pulled her back. Don't go after her alone. Before either of them could make sense of their next move, the whisper returned, colder, more sinister, wrapping around them like a slithering serpent. Help me. The voice was unmistakable. It pierced through his sanity, igniting an instinct to breathe life back into the darkness. But what if it was a trap? What if Emma had succumbed to whatever malignancy lurked in the woods? Come on, we need to stick together, he urged. Moving cautiously, they edged toward the sound, the oppressive atmosphere pressing against them. The trees loomed tall, like guardians of long-buried secrets, their barks twisted and gnarled from untold ages. A feeling of being watched enveloped them, nails on a chalkboard, as if unseen eyes tracked their every movement. Suddenly, a low growl resonated from the depths of the forest. It was deep, guttural, the sound of hunger echoing across the still night air. Jake's breath hitched. Panic surged through him. We need to go back now. No. We can't leave her. Lisa insisted, shaking her head fiercely. The air grew thick, a tangible dread wrapping around them as they pushed deeper into the woods, where the whispering morphed into a cacophony of cries. It wasn't just Emma. It was a chorus of tormented souls, echoing against the bark, weaving a tapestry of despair that seemed to ripple through the leaves. Then they saw it, a flicker of light breaking through the branches, dancing like a will-o'-the-wisp. The glow pulsed rhythmically, a beacon of hope or a siren's call? This way, Jake whispered, barely hushed, his instincts kicking in. They dashed toward the light, hearts pounding and limbs heavy. As they approached, the glow shifted, revealing a clearing. At the center, a circle of stones adorned with antiquated symbols, their grotesque shapes grotesque beneath the moonlight. The light now dimmed, revealing something out of nightmares, a crude doll, made from twigs and moss, its eyes two beady stones glaring at them. What the hell is that? Lisa gasped, recoiling. I don't know. But it feels wrong. Just then, a soft rustle behind them made Jake freeze. He slowly turned, a chill spiking down his spine. The figure, the one with the carvings, was closer now, its cold eyes gleaming with malevolence, an invitation rather than a threat. Join us, it hissed, its voice a melody of despair. Despair surged through Jake. No! Get back! But it was too late. The figure lunged. Jake yanked Lisa back, adrenaline fueling their escape, but the whispers grew louder, wrapping around them, pulling them deeper into darkness. Then they heard it again. Help me! Terrified, they stumbled back, desperation clawing at their throats. And just as Jake turned, a smaller figure stepped from behind the trees, its silhouette unmistakable. Emma, wide-eyed and trembling, lips parted like a fish gasping for air. Emma! Jake exclaimed, relief flooding his veins until he noticed her ragged clothes, dirt-smudged face, and something else, her expression wide with dread. As they rushed toward her, she didn't move forward. Instead, she pointed behind them, voice trembling, no, don't look, but they did. Shadows coalesced, swirling, rushing in with the force of nature, the night crescendoing with terror as Jake and Lisa braced for the unknown. What had they awakened, and at what cost? As they faced the darkness, they understood the woods were alive, and they were not welcome. Tomorrow was uncertain, but one thing became clear: they had to find a way to survive the night. The shadows pulsed with life, writhing and recoiling like a living entity, and in the midst of their movement stood Emma, her wide eyes reflecting an internal storm of fear and disbelief. The air thickened, pregnant with unspoken terror as Jake and Lisa exchanged frantic glances. Stay close to me, Jake whispered, pulling Emma against him, feeling her shiver beneath his arm. What did you see? He asked, swallowing hard, aiming to extract any shred of information before the darkness swallowed them whole. The trees, they talked to me, she stammered, her voice trembling. I tried to find you. I heard the whispers calling. They wanted me to stay. Whispers? Lisa echoed, her voice a shiver of its own. What whispers? Suddenly, the growl echoed again, closer this time, reverberating through the ground like a war drum. Jake's heart thumped loudly in his ears, a frenzied orchestra drowning out all thought, drowning out the eerie whispers that now surrounded them. We need to move. He yelled, adrenaline surging through him, but before they could take a step, the figure with the cold eyes emerged from the shadows, not alone anymore. More figures poured forth, each one wearing the same twisted, anguished expression as the first, as if they were all cut from the same cloth, bodies spindly and pale, arms stretching toward them like roots reaching for sustenance. Join us, they chanted, a haunting hymn that resonated with the very heartbeat of the forest, filling every crevice with unease. Jake felt himself being drawn toward them, compelled to step into the circle of stones. He shook his head violently, dispelling the thoughts that clawed at his mind. Fight it! He shouted to Emma and Lisa, their eyes adding to the chorus of terror flooding his senses. But the darkness around them shifted, thickening with an unseen weight that seemed to grip their throats. Lisa gasped, her eyes darting. What do they want? Maybe they want what we took from them. Emma's voice broke through the haze, eyes shining with unshed tears. The land, the stories they were here first. No. Jake yelled, as if retorting a bad dream. He couldn't allow fear to paralyze them. We need to get out. As the figures lunged toward them, each cold hand reaching out, Jake pulled Emma and Lisa back, retreating into the depths of the woods. They stumbled through the trees, branches slashing at them like angry hands, their hearts racing, breaths coming in ragged gasps, but the chanting followed them, echoing in the dark, join us, join us. The woods came alive, bending and twisting with each desperate step they took. Where do we go? Lisa cried, panic creeping into her voice as they reached a fork in the path, two trails shadowed in mystery. Left. Jake commanded, instinct fueling his impulse. But as they veered down the path, the echoing cries transformed into screams soul-piercing, filled with agony and loss. Stumbling, they reached a clearing bathed in murky moonlight. There, a figure stood at the edge, back turned, facing a massive gnarled tree, its twisted branches spiraling into the sky like fingers beckoning from hell. "Is that?" Emma's voice trailed off, recognition blending with horror. Before Jake could respond, the figure turned, revealing a familiar face, a lost friend from their past, eyes hollow and mouth twisted in a cruel grin. "Why did you come back?" it whispered, voice serpentine, curling around them. "You woke them, now they want to play." The words struck like cold steel, freezing them in place. Shadows gathered once more, encircling the three figures in a tightening storm, leaving Jake, Lisa, and Emma nowhere to run. What game had they unknowingly entered? The darkness didn't just hunger for souls, it craved their memories, their fears. It thrived on the weakness they now wore like a shroud. Jake's mind raced, searching for a way out, for the escape they desperately needed. But the shadows were no longer mere figments of their terror, they had become something far worse. Would they be able to confront the past, or would they become part of the relentless night? The dawn felt impossibly far away as the first screams began to rise. Emma's heart raced, pounding against her ribs like a frantic drum. The figure they once knew, once loved, stood before them, taunting them with its twisted smile. Jake stepped forward instinctively, fists clenching, muscles taut with a mix of anger and fear. "What did you do?" he shouted, voice cracking, the inquiry a feeble spark against the overwhelming shadow. The figure tilted its head, the grin never wavering. "It's not what I did, it's what you've done." Whispers surged like a gust of wind around them, the chant ebbing and flowing, weaving their fears tighter. "You brought the darkness back. You disturbed their slumber," the figure crooned. "You're part of the game now." "Shut up!" Lisa screamed, pushing Emma behind her. "We have to get out of here." But each attempt to retreat only led them deeper into the unsettling woods. The gnarled tree loomed like a sentinel, ancient and unfathomable, watching their every move. The branches twisted downward, veined like fingers, beckoning them closer. The shadows writhed, inspecting each of them as their eyes adjusted to the spine-chilling gloom. "Please, we just want to leave," Emma pleaded, desperation clawing at her throat. "Leaving?" The voice echoed mockingly, morphing into a chorus of laughs that bounced off the trees. "There is no leaving. Only joining. You'll understand soon." Jake shook his head violently, refusing to let hopelessness take him. "We need to find the stones." The stones! They had to be the key. He grabbed Emma's wrist, pulling her along, drawing focus from the nightmare surrounding them. "Trust me," he murmured, but doubt flickered in Emma's eyes. As they moved, the screams heightened, morphing into faces of those they had lost and forgotten, weaving through their memories like ghosts. Jake's breath hitched as shadows formed mouths, and he heard fragments of their past screams, accusations, pleas for forgiveness. The air thickened with sorrow, twisting the very essence of the place. The path veered sharply, leading them back to the fork again. Jake hesitated. Right? He wondered aloud, instinct driving him. But the suffocating weight of the shadows pressed in closer. From behind, the chorus erupted, a symphony of despair. Join us, each word cracked in his mind, sending a chill through his spine. "Run!" he shouted, yanking Emma and Lisa again as fear blazed through him. They darted down the right path, pushing through a tangle of branches that clawed at them like the creeping darkness itself. Breathless, they stumbled into a small glen where a monument of stones stood, each one glowing eerily. Whispers floated among them like wisps of fog. The stones must be the answer, Jake breathed, a flicker of hope igniting, but as they approached, the stones trembled, shifting in place and hissing like snakes. A reconciliatory voice broke through the chaos, fluttering around them. "You need to choose, who will join us?" Jake's eyes widened in horror. "What does that mean?" The figures advanced, crawling like shadows over the ground, almost pleading. "We need you, feel the connection." Around them, the stone sentinels glistened with some inner life, the light flickering like a heartbeat. "We're not part of this," Lisa yelled, stepping forward, anger rising. The closer they got to the stones, the more a sense of dread consumed them. It felt like a binding contract whispering from the ancient past, forcing their hands to answer its call. Do you know what truly binds love and loss? The twisted figure cooed softly. You have all felt it, and now the time has come to embrace it. Something primal inside Jake erupted. No! He roared, but the chanting swelled, growing louder, reverberating through the earth, clawing at their resolve. Then, all at once, the shadows surged. A scream tore from Emma's throat, merging with others echoing through the trees, an unholy symphony that pierced the night. In that moment, as their eyes darted, a realization crashed down. Their pasts were the very roots of the shadows, and the stones would reveal a truth they'd never wanted to face. What would they sacrifice to break free? Would it be their memories, each other, or something worse? As the shadows closed in, a terrifying question hung in the thick night air. Would they join the ones lost forever, or risk everything to escape? The ground beneath them shuddered as the shadows pulsed, breathing with an almost sentient hunger. The stones shimmered under the moonlight, drawing them closer like moths to a flame. Each pulse in their heart echoed the whispers, each breath mingled with the chant of despair that seemed to seep out from the trees themselves. Jake, we can't. Emma gasped, her eyes darting from the grotesque figures creeping closer to the glowing stones. It felt unbearable, this weight of ancient regret pressing upon them. Again, the chorus wove tighter, reverberating in her skull, coaxing despair into her heart, but Jake's resolve hardened. They're lying. We can't let them take us. He squeezed Emma's hand tighter, an anchor amidst the rising tide of terror. We must find a way. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a slip of a girl with wild hair and watery eyes. It was Clara, lost years ago, a beacon of familiarity twisted now into a specter of the past. Jake, she whispered, voice a fragile wind. Help me, you have to help me, Clara. He was rooted to the spot. The memory of her laughter echoed painfully in his mind. What happened to you? Choose before it's too late. Her eyes flickered to the stones which writhed in a cacophony of grief. Or you'll join us. No! Lisa shouted, her voice carving through the haze like a blade. This isn't her. It's a trick. But Clara glided closer, stretching a delicate arm toward them, the shadows growing thick around her. I'm not a trick. I'm trapped like you will be if you don't choose. The air chilled, and the shadows began to shift, morphing into spectral hands reaching for them. Their fingers were cold and insatiable, grasping for flesh, pulling them toward that glowing monument. Every inch closer, another wretched memory clawed its way forth, their joy twisted into the darkest of fears. Come join us. The figures cried in unison, their voices layered and grotesque. Jake felt his pulse quicken, drowning in that suffocating, all-consuming fear. Embrace the truth. Embrace the darkness. Down on his knees, he sensed Lisa's presence beside him, her breath hot against his cheek. Please, Jake, we have to go. We can't let them take us. Willing himself to stand, Jake felt the weight of Clara's gaze as if she were willing him to choose her over Lisa. The shadows wriggled and danced, tempting him with the promise of reunion. Could they have Clara back? Wouldn't that be worth the price? No! He yelled, shaking his head violently. You're not real. You're a part of this horror. The twisted figure laughed, its voice resonating deep within the ground. Real or not, it matters not. Each choice you make binds you more. Will you turn your back on her? Desperation surged within Emma, her hands finding Jake's arms, gripping tightly as their breath mingled with the whispers. We need to find the stone's secret. They're only part of the answer. The air vibrated, the shadows snapped forward, encircling them, their whispers growing shrill. The choice is yours. The darkness is family, the light is fleeting. Help us, Clara. Jake cried, his heart breaking. Tell us how to break free. As her image flickered, Clara's mouth tightened, despairing. You can't break free from what you truly are. With that, the shadows recoiled as if struck. The stones erupted in dazzling light, sharp and blinding, slicing through them like a blade. Jake gasped, pulling Emma close as they fell back against the gnarled roots of the encroaching trees, desperation clouding his vision, creeping into his bones. Face it. The figure screamed, phantoms swirling, closing in tighter than ever. You are bound to this fate. And then it struck him a sudden realization, a kernel of truth. Emma! He shouted, the words spilling out frantic and heated. What if we don't choose anyone? We escape without sacrifice? The laughter of shadows turned to howls of rage, rejected by their defiance. The stones pulsed violently, a beacon of chaos, threatening to erupt and consume them. As the forest trembled, the choice loomed heavy. Desperation twisted into determination. But would rejecting the dark save them, or would it seal their fates forever? In the blackness wrapping around them, a flicker of something else stirred, haunting and fervent. What had they awakened? And what would come for them next? The ground began to tremble more violently, the stones glowed brighter, casting dark shadows that twitched and writhed as if alive. Jake could hear his heart pounding in sync with the ominous drumming that resonated from within the earth. The forest was hungry, a predator stalking its prey, and they were only moments from being devoured whole. Jake, we need to move. Emma's voice broke through the chaos, firm yet laced with fear. Her eyes were wide, darting around as desperation swirled in the air between them. But where? He shouted back, uncertainty creeping into his mind. The figures lurched closer, their grotesque forms twisting in the faint light, their forms flickering like a faulty projection. Clara's face lingered in his thoughts, both familiar and terrifying. Follow me. Emma pulled, dragging him to the left as they stumbled on uneven ground, the shadows persistently reaching for them, grasping but not yet grasping. Wind whistled through the treetops, an eerie howl that seemed to echo every time they veered further away from the stones. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed in the silence, snapping through the tension like a gunshot. One of the gnarled trees, its trunk brittle and dark, had split open, revealing a gaping maw at its center, a black depth filled with swirling fog. It beckoned, the shadow swirling in excitement, hungry for sacrifice. Do you see that? Emma whispered, her voice trembling. We have to go in there. There is no way. Jake protested, panic rising. We don't know what that is. But even as he protested, curiosity gnawed at him. It could be a way out. Or a way deeper into hell. The trees swayed, and he felt their whispers seep into his mind, calling him to surrender. Clara wasn't lying, he muttered, we have to choose. Not like this. Emma's grip tightened on his arm. We can't trust the darkness. We can't just give up. The creatures behind them screamed in fury, their faces morphing into grotesque masks of betrayal. You think you can win? You cannot escape what you are. They shrieked. Their voices harmonized into a cacophony of sorrow that scraped across Jake's skin. Then let us figure out what we really are. Jake hurled back, determination igniting in his chest. He turned toward the tree and took a step, then another, pulling Emma with him. The air thickened as they crossed the threshold into the black void. The moment they entered, the screams faded, swallowed by the darkness. It was as if they had been plunged into a liquid night, pressing against their skin, wrapping around them, suffocating in its embrace. They could barely see each other, their shapes only outlines in the inky black, but Jake could feel Emma's breath on his face, the warmth grounding him against the suffocating chill. What now? She whispered, panic creeping into her voice. The absence of light was complete. Just keep moving. We have to find a way out. He took her hand, guiding them deeper into the unknown. Each step felt like sinking into quicksand, the ground beneath them was unstable, shifting, filled with unseen dangers. Jake, hear that? Emma's voice trembled, crackling fear pooling between them. A sound echoed, distant and weak, an echo of laughter that was almost childlike, infused with shadowy malice. It danced around them, tighter, wrapping like vines into their minds. Help us, it sang through the darkness. Not again. Jake gritted his teeth. We can't trust it. But even as he said it, a part of him yearned for the familiarity of the laughter. Clara's words echoed back, taunting him. You can't break free from what you truly are. Suddenly, the laughter erupted into maniacal shrieks as shadows morphed, twisting and solidifying around them. The tree's maw had vanished, and they were trapped. Jake! With a surge of panic, Jake sprinted forward, but the shadows closed in, their hands like cold steel, grabbing his arms, pulling him backward. No! Emma! He yelled, feeling his own sanity slipping. Don't give in! She screamed, fighting against the grasping hands. In that moment, they needed to confront the truth of who they were. The shadows were right. The darkness promised them something, a twisted kind of freedom. Could they harness it, find a way to control it, tame it? Or would it drag them further into despair? As they struggled against the dark, the shadows coiled tighter. In the maelstrom of despair, Jake made one last frantic push forward, clutching Emma's hand like a lifeline. Do you want to be free? He shouted against the thrumming darkness, desperate. Then we fight together. But deep down, another voice whispered back, was he really free at all? The shadows rumbled, hungry and angry, and Jake braced himself for what lay ahead. Would they emerge unscathed, or would they succumb to the depths they were plunging into? What had they truly awakened, and could they withstand what would come next? The shadows squeezed them tighter, claw-like fingers digging into their skin, icy and relentless. Panic surged through Jake like a wildfire. Every heartbeat echoed in the void, a reminder of their mortality. Emma, hold on! He grasped her wrist, the connection between them a fragile lifeline in this suffocating darkness. They struggled against the pull of the shadows, which writhed and twisted as if they were alive, hungry and vengeful. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through his arm as one of the cold hands broke free. It flicked his skin, igniting a latent terror inside him. No! He cried out, panic flashing through his mind. We can't lose each other. Then, the laughter returned, a chilling delight wrapping around them like a noose. It was louder now, mocking. Together forever, it's what you wanted, isn't it? The voice was Clara's, but distorted, dripping with malice. Stop. Just stop. Emma screamed, her voice cracking under the strain. Jake felt their grip loosen slightly, but it returned with a ferocious grip, as if the shadows were taunting them for their hope. Keep moving! Jake shouted, churning through the darkness, dragging Emma along. We can't let go. They stumbled through blackness, each step a gamble. Jake's foot caught on something. The ground was unyielding, a churning mass of soil. The horrid laughter evolved into shrieks again, reverberating through the dark as if it were alive, pain and anguish hanging thick in the air. The shadows pulsed around them, the cold tightening. Embrace the darkness, it understands you, they hissed. Eyes wide, Jake felt terror closing in. Everything in him begged to turn back, to succumb to the darkness. But Emma pulled him forward. We can't give in. She urged, her voice fierce. We have to fight. The laughter turned sharp, cutting through the fog of despair. Fight? You can't escape it. Embrace what you truly are. An image flickered in Jake's eyes. Clara, her face distorted, blood trickling from the corners of her mouth as she smiled. Her eyes, once filled with warmth, now glowed with the same darkness that swallowed the world around him. No! He shook his head violently, trying to dispel the image. Clara's laughter turned into a cacophony of screams, clawing at his sanity. Panic clawed at his throat, a prison of despair. Suddenly, a flash of movement caught his eye. Something glinted in the oppressive dark ahead. There! Something's there! He shouted, adrenaline coursing through him. It might be a way out. They struggled forward, pushing through the shadows as they enveloped them, slippery and cold. The shadows hissed and shrieked, almost pleading. Join us. We can show you what you really are. With each step toward the light, the whispers turned more enticing, promising secrets buried deep under layers of pain. Just before they reached the glow, Jake felt fingers clutch him tighter, their grip like iron. The light flickered like a candle in the storm, teasing with both salvation and doom. Jake! We can't stop. Emma was frantic now, her breath mingling with his. What if it's a trap? Then, the light shifted. It morphed into a face, a familiar face, yet twisted and unnatural. Jake recoiled, his heart racing in milliseconds. Clara? But this version looked wrong, as if every aspect of her was twisted into something monstrous.
No, no! He gasped, recoiling.
But the face smiled wider, and the shadows howled with delight.
Together forever, this is your choice. What did they really want? To be free, to confront the darkness, or to seek comfort in their despair? Jake felt the weight of the choice pressing down on him like a tombstone.
They reached that light, the warmth washing over him like a tide, but then he felt it, Emma's hand slipping from his.
"Emma!"
He cried, but the shadows bagged around him as he felt his grip weaken. Could he hold on, or were they both about to be devoured by what they had awakened? What truths awaited them on the other side, and would they survive the price for freedom? The grip of the shadows tightened around Jake, and he felt the last warmth of Emma's hand fading.
"No! No!"
The desperate cry erupted from his throat, a mix of rage and fear. The world turned into a blur, a whirlpool of darkness that threatened to consume him entirely.
"Fight!"
Emma's voice echoed from somewhere beyond the depths, a beacon amidst the suffocating gloom.
"Don't let them take you."
He couldn't bear the thought of losing her, not like this.
Summoning every ounce of strength, Jake yanked backward, tearing himself away from the icy fingers that sought to drag him deeper into the abyss.
"Hold on!" He roared into the emptiness, pushing forward, alienated yet anchored by the dying glow that flickered ahead. Shadows twisted and danced, reaching out like heartless specters, whispering promises of power and clarity that dripped with anguish.
"You don't want to know."
"Together forever." The voices morphed into a twisted choir, each word more insidious than the last. Had Clara truly spoken those words out of affection? What was love, if it was wrapped in chains of despair? The light pulsed again, revealing something in its glow, a door. It stood ajar, just enough for hope to seep through the widening crack. But it wasn't a door to freedom, it was simply a maw. The face of Clara, once bright and cheerful, glimmered in the edge of brightness, but now veiled, twisted, and warped beyond recognition.
"No! Let her go!"
Jake shouted, and the shadows hissed, displeased. They swirled around him, thickening, encircling him with icy breath. For the briefest moment, he caught a glimpse of himself in the shadows' hollow eyes, twisted grin, as if the darkness had begun to carve out its very own version of him. A tremor shot through him.
Was he already changing?
"Embrace what you fear, Jake," the shadows taunted, seductive and cruel.
"No!"
he thundered, tearing his gaze from the abhorrent reflection. He grabbed Emma's fading warmth, though it felt as if he clutched a ghost.
"You hear me, Emma? Fight with me!"
The darkness shrilled, a cacophony of rage. It wasn't just angry, it was desperately afraid. The shadows surged, pulsating, as if sensing his defiance. They whipped around him, pinching and pulling, tearing at his flesh and sanity. He felt the weight of the choices weighing down on him like lead chains. And then, he remembered Clara's words, the soft, gentle tones when she spoke of their plans together, the dreams they had shared before everything twisted into this nightmare.
"Clara, I won't forget you. You still have a choice."
He called into the void, pouring every ounce of love into a desperate plea. The shadows recoiled, shuddering as if his words had weight. He stumbled toward the door, the light beckoning him closer. Emma's grip was nearly gone, and he felt her slipping away, yet he surged forward, determined not to give in. The door loomed larger, solid yet phantasmagoric, glowing with a heat that spoke of memories of laughter, warmth, and a future they could reclaim.
"Let go, Jake."
Emma's voice cracked, breathless and drenched in fear.
"You need to not without you."
He screamed, pulling her back with every ounce of strength. Shadows shrieked in response, bile and dread spiraling around them. Jake reached desperately for the door, teeth clenched, heart pounding, fighting against the consuming darkness. He felt the shadows release Emma's hand for just a second, hope soaring as he pulled her toward the light. Reality shifted, and suddenly they were tumbling through the door, plunging into a blinding luminescence. The world around them melted into white. He could feel Emma close by, warmth enveloping him, but after a heartbeat, the brightness dimmed. Jake opened his eyes, and the panic surged anew. They were sprawled on a forest floor, surrounded by trees that dripped with shadows, yet the oppressive weight was different now. Nearby, a mist floated close to the ground, swirling and twisting around the bases of the ancient trunks.
What happened? Are we free? Emma whispered, voice trembling. Jake's heart raced. The warmth of the light was fading, replaced by an unsettling chill pressing down on them.
A rustle in the shadows snagged his attention. That sound, a crack of twigs breaking, a slow slither of movement echoed through the trees, unseen horrors lurking just beyond the mist.
Do you hear that?
He murmured, fear striking him cold again. Before Emma could respond, a low growl rumbled from the depths of the shadows, a sinister sound, echoing deep within the woods.
Run!
Jake shouted, the primal instinct for survival kicking in. They stumbled to their feet, hearts racing, breathless with terror, only to realize they were now face to face with a darker truth that waited beyond the shadows.
In the eerie twilight, they had escaped one nightmare, but what horror lay in wait among the trees? As they dashed through the forest, a flickering shadow slithered just out of sight. What sinister being would reveal the true cost of their escape?
Jake and Emma stumbled forward, the oppressive presence of the woods tugging at their heels like an old friend turned thief. Their breaths came quick and ragged, hearts pounding against fear's timeline. After what felt like an eternity of chasing shadows, they burst into a small clearing, limbs tangled in branches, and light filtering through the trees overhead, but this wasn't the safety they hoped for. The trees surrounded them, looming taller and more menacing, their twisted trunks like prison bars. Jake's heart sank as dark figures flitted between the branches, dancing just out of sight, remnants of what they had narrowly escaped.
Do we keep going?
Emma's voice was barely a whisper, heavy with uncertainty. No, we stand firm, Jake replied, clenching his fists.
We face whatever comes next together.
As if summoned, the shadows shifted and coalesced ahead of them, dark tendrils unfurling like smoke. The echo of anguished cries spilled forth, merging into a cacophony of torment. Join us, they cooed, voices layered with longing and despair. Pull yourself together, Jake shouted, pushing his will against the pressing darkness.
He had to refocus, to conjure their fears into something tangible, strength, not surrender.
Whatever these things are, they thrive on our fear.
That's how they meant to claim us.
Emma stepped closer, nodding with determination behind the fear in her wide eyes.
We could confront them. Show them we understand.
They want our pain, our memories. Chilled air took a deep breath, swirling around them as Jake sharpened his focus.
Right. This isn't just about escape anymore. We need to set them free. The figures loomed closer, whispering secrets wrapped in sorrow. You can reclaim what you've lost. Stop,
Jake yelled, raising his hands as a final guard against the encroaching shadows.
You've taken enough. We won't surrender anymore.
With every word, Jake felt the shadows recoil, their cries morphing into something less certain. The darkness clung, twisted, fought against the light seeping through their resolve. Emma, think of the memories that bind us, Jake urged, recalling laughter shared in golden years, the warmth of birthdays and family dinners, the small pleasures that knit their hearts together like a vibrant tapestry.
The light doesn't end, it only waits for us to fight.
As the shadows surged again, a figure pushed forward, a fragmented apparition, distorted yet achingly familiar. It was Clara, but so different from the friend they once knew. You waste your breaths, trying to fight what's inside. Her gaze flickered between battle cry and deep sorrow.
No.
Jake stepped forward, desperation gnawing at his core.
You're not lost. You can't be. We remember you, we won't forget. And for that, you think you can save me?
She mocked, but the flicker of pain was real.
You can save no one unless you embrace the truth.
I don't have to embrace pain to know my heart, he shouted, the words erupting from a place within him that refused to give in. I refuse to accept our memories as burdens, and the shadows don't get to dictate our stories. Wait, Emma whispered, her voice cutting through the tension.
What if we become memories ourselves? Sacrifice doesn't have to mean despair.
The shadows stilled, listening. What would you give? The air felt charged, anticipation dripping like rain.
Not our lives, Jake spoke fiercely, wrapping an arm around Emma. We offer our willingness to let go of fear.
Emma nodded, her voice stronger. Make way for hope rather than despair.
We choose love over loss. In that moment, something shifted.
The shadows hesitated, confused by their refusal to bend.
Jake squeezed Emma's arm, confidence blossoming amidst the chaos.
A ripple echoed through the dark tendrils, and the harsh whispers receded, a fading tide reaching the shore. The shadows swirled, wrestled, then began to dissolve into fragments of light. The figures within them grasped for stability but found themselves shifting again, a softening, a promise of acknowledgement rather than violence.
"Do you dare?" Clara asked with aching curiosity, her face shimmering in the midst of the chaos.
"Yes," they shouted together. "We embrace our entirety, memories of laughter, tears, and shared suffering, the golden light within each shadow.
Let them remember."
Reality cracked and twisted as a flash of light enveloped them, and the darkness parted like a curtain revealing another path. The woods clung to their echo of past pain but accepted their resolve, offering a way forward. As the brightening horizon unfolded, Jake and Emma grasped each other tighter, pushing toward the light that pulsed with life and opportunity. Behind them, the whispers transformed, fading into a gentle breeze filled with warmth and understanding.
"Thank you," Clara's voice echoed from the shadows, now dissolving into echoes of laughter, soft and soothing.
The darkness that had once suffocated them had turned, woven into gracious memories that soared with the spirits they had freed. As dawn broke, they emerged from the woods on the other side, standing at the foot of a gentle hill, the promise of a new day settling around them like a warm blanket. "We did it," Emma whispered, voice thick with emotion. Jake nodded slowly, surveying the open field stretched before them.
"Together."
And together they turned back, wondering not what they had escaped but what stories they would carry forth into the world. For they had become stronger, woven from shadows and light, inseparable, love's embrace pushing forth beyond the darkness, the dawn welcoming them home. Now is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories.
Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and let us keep the energy rolling.
Don't wait even one more second to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this explosive conclusion. And remember, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see this. Let us spread the word together. Your love makes all the difference.